Hey, everybody. Welcome to Passions Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the soap opera passions. I am your regular host, Latara, back today with Dr. Eric Vera and our international guest host, Lisa. Welcome back. We've seen Eric the last 2 weeks, so I'm thrilled to see you, Eric, but I'm going to start with Lisa.
Please.
We're going to check in with Lisa for a moment. Lisa, how's it going? And we know you're still a new mom, as you might say.
My class is new. Yeah, I'm still new. They're 6 months old now, the twins, for people that know. So hectic, but wanted to be here today very much for Timmy. So thank you for having me.
And we're glad to have you. Do you mind showing everybody your necklace? She has a little necklace.
It probably shows up better against the background. Yeah, I had a Timmy name necklace made. I was thinking about getting Timmy's name tattooed on me at one point. I love Timmy that much, but I'm not a tattoo person, so stuck with the necklace.
I love that.
That's
the necklace,
great.
I think the necklace is a beautiful tribute, and I love that you wore it today, and that's so cool. And yeah, I do think a tattoo would have been a little bit overkill, maybe.
Just to remind me, I wanted to have his name on my wrist, and then I how you draw the tattoo on. I was like, nah.
Yeah. Nah, maybe not so. Not now. No, but anyway. Eric, how's things? How's tricks?
Oh, good. Everything's fine. I've had such a good time being here with you all these past few weeks, just because I wanted to see us all the way through. And I'm particularly excited because our queen is getting her magic back. With that said, golly, Passions hasn't done this in a while. Get ready to see the same clips every episode from the previous episode. Verbatim and starting. Oh, okay. Good for you.
No,
I was fast forward.
No,
It did make the episode shorter.
I was in the wrong episode so many times.
I did too.
I'll explain why I'm not going to say I loved it, but I appreciated it. And here is why. Too often, Passions will show you basically the same scene with things changed. And you're like, wait a minute, that's not what they said in literally the last episode. So it was nice to, for once, see some actual continuity in Passions. I was like, oh, they actually remembered the what they wrote the last time,
Yeah.
Or maybe it was the exact same scenes, but I feel like a lot of times it'll be like the same scene, but they're acting it out again, so there's new dialogue, and so I appreciated it.
Well, my thing was they backed it up too much. It was like there was a lot. I was like, okay, all right, we'll watch
first
it again.
10 minutes was recap. Do you think it's because it was in the summer and it was for the casual viewer to drop in, see all the action, and get sucked in? That was my thought.
Yeah, I would imagine that's exactly what it is, because so many big things happened the last 3 weeks that they're catching people up on, here's where we are.
Yeah.
Here's
Milking the drama. Yeah.
Yeah, here's the same conversation that we had yesterday and the week before. So we watched episodes 786 through 790 this week. So it was a good week. It wasn't as good, in my opinion. It wasn't quite as good as last week or the week before, as far as things happening, but we got a good amount of movement. And yes, Tabitha was the highlight of the whole week. So before we get into that, I'm going to give a big shout out to the patrons over on Patreon. Thank you to Munashe, Lisa, Sid, Randall, Hannah, Camelia, Samantha, Jeanette, Eric, Fantasia, Sean, S, Larissa, Maria, Lisa, Jessica Jean, Laura, Karen, Uche, Paige, Casey, Garange, Tom Bergeron, Daisy, Shane, Kelly, Taylor Harris, Crane, DJ, and our newest our newest patron to the Patreon, Kelly. Thank you all so much for being patrons and hanging in there with me and, having these crazy discussions. We have a lot of fun on the Discord. We have a lot of fun on the watch parties, which another one's coming up tomorrow, which is the 17th. And then we're having a game night on the 27th. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yes, the 27th. So, if you hear this and you're not a member of the Patreon just yet, feel free to join in the fun, the revelry. Join the revelry. Go to patreon.com/passionspodcast and sign up for whatever tier you find most agreeable. And now on with the show, everybody. On with the show. So We're going to start this week with our fated couples, Theresa, Ethan, Gwen, and we got a little bit of Chad and Whitney this week, which was nice. It was nice, I guess. I don't know. Their storyline's not doing it for me at all.
Same.
Yeah. Eric's like,
they're I wrote 2 notes about them.
yeah.
So
Yeah, like it was nice. Well, like, was it?
I have 3 notes. I have 3 notes about them. So, yeah. All right. So let's pick up with Theresa. There's not a lot here this week, which honestly is good because we need to give this stuff a break for a moment, honestly. So Theresa, she's in the living room with her baby. Ethan is like fawning over the baby, and then she's like ready to go up for bed or whatever, and she starts to head up, and she's got the baby in her arms, and she starts to get weak, and she's like, Ethan, do you think you could help me to my room? And we were watching this on a watch party, and Ethan was like, I'm sorry, not Ethan, Eric. And Eric very smartly pointed out that Ethan didn't take the baby from her, even though she's faint, like looking faint, and like they were about to go up the stairs. So it's like, take the baby from this woman who might fall over her. Yeah, but he is like, sure, I'll help you up to your room, whatever. Gwen's dissatisfied at the whole thing, of course. Rebecca's standing behind her the whole time, like whispering in her ear, making her feel even more insecure. And then Theresa asks Ethan, like, can you stay with me until I fall asleep? And he's like, of course, sure. And so they go upstairs. Rebecca warns Gwen that being fair with Theresa, because she says, I know you're trying to be fair with Theresa. It's only fair because she just came back from the dead, but you can't be fair with her because it's going to get you nowhere. And she tells her it's time to fight fire with fire. Which, I mean, Theresa has been on fire a couple of times. We know she's not flame resistant. So Gwen, they go upstairs. Gwen and Rebecca follow like Ethan and Theresa upstairs with the baby, which in my opinion, like, if I was Theresa, I would just be like, hey, I want to have some time with my baby and Ethan. And I don't think that would be unreasonable for her to say. Like,
I think it would be. I wouldn't like that.
Ethan and Gwen are a package now. Haven't you heard of that? They made love.
They made love. And so now they're together forever. And fine, whatever. However, at the very least, I wouldn't want Rebecca in the room with me. And because Theresa believes that Rebecca tried to have her killed. True. Yeah. And she's right. She's absolutely right that Rebecca tried to have her killed. She believes that. And on top of that, Rebecca, even if she didn't have the proof, even without having like the proof of her trying to have her killed, Rebecca has been absolutely horrible to Theresa, and so has Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn has been horrible to her too. So I would understand if she was able. Ethan should be able to understand if she said to him like, "Hey, I want to spend some time with you because I like you, and I want you to spend some time with the baby, but I don't want them in my room."
There is a way to say it. And I guess it's
Ethan's fault. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Set a bound. She should. I wish Theresa had set a boundary here. But she didn't. Everybody's just all up in her room. She had all her ops in the room with her. Not Ivy. Ivy is notably absent. So
Ivy's like, I'm going to bed.
Ivy went to bed hours ago. She's like, I'm not sticking around to remind Theresa any further what we did. Right? Like,
smart.
Yeah.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. Exactly. So they're upstairs. Ethan and Theresa are like cooing over the baby. Rebecca and Gwen are watching on like little, like hawks, like little vultures. And I don't know how we got here, but eventually Rebecca tells Gwen, you know what? You're gonna have to drug Theresa. Wait, what?
Yeah. It is a long few days of Rebecca and Gwen having a conversation about, like, you've been trying to play fair. What has fair gotten you? You need to get devious. And so basically, and then at some point she does say something along the lines of like, Rebecca says like Theresa has done way more in the time that she's gotten back to get Ethan back. Maybe she should have been my daughter.
Yes, she says, Teresa's amazing. Here she is just back from the dead and already after Ethan. Maybe she should have been my daughter. I cracked up. Do I have my...
Yeah.
There it is. Maybe she should have been my daughter.
You did that so well on your own. I have to applaud that. You don't need the button. That was really good.
And so Rebecca goes on to say, Ethan is already softening to her, and the only way you are going to be able to fight this is if you drug her like the pit bull she is, and drag Ethan off to bed and then put out. She says to her daughter, you need to drug Theresa like the animal she is, and then you're going to drag your boyfriend to bed and have sex with him. That way he will no longer even be thinking about Theresa. But Theresa came back from the dead. I'm sorry, there's nothing you're going to do to keep my mind off of that. Like, there's nothing you're going to be able to do. Like, there's no amount of pussy that would keep me from thinking about the fact that Theresa was dead and now is alive again. And I think
write today off, Gwen. Yeah,
write the day off. Go to bed. Go to bed, Joseph. Go to bed. But Gwen, at first, Gwen's like, what? But it doesn't take long for her to get on board with this plan.
She says it's late and I'm desperate. Yep. I'm like, defend that, Maria.
Defend that, Maria. Wait a minute.
I'm sure she will have an argument to defend.
I don't know. This is pretty indefensible, and I do think Maria is pretty reasonable when it comes to some of the Gwen stuff.
She'll give it a little Maria spin though. So on Wednesday on the Discord, I will be waiting in the morning.
She'll definitely find a way to.
Well, they threw in. Oh, but what if the baby needs her? So they gave her a hint of humanity and concern for the baby, but then there's so many servants. Little Ethan is going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then Gwen agrees. She says, "What do you suggest we use to sedate the slut?" That's what she said. Verbatim. That's what she said. And then Rebecca starts pulling all these drugs, the pharmacy of cleavage, out of her boobs.
She got CVS in the crevices of her breastises.
Yes.
And it's open 24 hours, 7 days a week.
That's what she said. That's exactly what she said. She starts pulling out all these drugs, and she's like, this one should do. And she gives it to Gwen. And then Phyllis comes back in the room, the maid who had gone off to make tea for everybody. She comes back with the tea, and she sets it down, and she notices that Rebecca and Gwen are in there. I think Theresa and Ethan went to give the baby a bath. That was the whole thing. Yeah.
Phyllis is coming in hard for our girl, because she's like, I don't know a thing about taking a baby a bath. I'm like, oh, she's totally helping.
Yeah, Theresa. She's like, I don't know nothing about birthing no babies. She is using the little Ethan to help Theresa and sorry, my computer just did something weird, to help
Theresa and
Ethan get back together, right?
Yeah.
Or spend some time together. And so Ethan, what does he know about babies, was like, yeah, I can help you give the baby a bath. Okay. But you know what? It's just an excuse. He wants to be there with Theresa.
Yes.
And he really wants to be there with her and the baby.
His paternal instincts are kicking in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Sorry, everyone.
It's okay.
No, yeah. I said this on the watch party. He's enamored with the baby.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's something about a baby. I mean, look who we're talking to. I mean, there's something about a new baby that you're like, I can look at this baby for about 24 hours. Like, just watch the baby.
Let me tell you.
Yeah, I was watching videos of my babies. My babies are out to have silence, and I've been sent videos by uncles, and I'm rewatching them. They've been away a few hours. Yeah.
If you hand me a baby, you might not get that baby back. I will hold your baby. You do not have to ask me to hold your baby, but because I will hold your baby all day, every day. I love holding babies. once
That
they
would
get
help me
past
out a
that
lot if
newborn
you.
stage, I don't love that newborn stage because they're so fragile, like they're so little. But like a month or two in, I'll hold your baby until they're 3 years old.
You sound like Beth Wallace. It's a
No,
little foreshadowing.
yeah, no, don't do that to me. I'm not anything like that. Although I cannot wait for us to get there because y'all, I remember we'll talk about it, but I feel very differently about Beth than I used to. I'm gonna say that.
Yeah,
Okay.
same.
Okay, so Phyllis brings in this tea and it's 4 cups of tea, and she sets it down. She heads out, and only Rebecca and Gwen are in the room with the tea. She comes back because she forgot to do something for Theresa. She comes
Love
back.
her pillow.
Yes, exactly. She comes back and she sees Gwen drugging the tea, putting the drugs in one of the teacups. She does not say anything because I love Phyllis. I love Phyllis. I said it the moment I met her. I was like, I like this. I like this maid. So she doesn't say anything. Theresa and Ethan come back and she whispers it into Theresa's ear. Theresa then in turn whispers something in her ear. So then Phyllis like makes a little distraction. She like falls over and everybody's looking at her, and Theresa switches the teacups. And then it's time to have tea. And Gwen hands Theresa the teacup that she thinks she drugged. She hands it to her like, cheers, have a drink. You must be so tired. A smile on her face, okay? And Theresa is like, oh, you too. Here's your tea. Hands her the teacup that is drugged. I'm sorry, I loved this.
Oh, it's so they made it a funny bit eventually. I mean, it really is a funny bit.
Yeah, it is so dark to like drug somebody, right? Like
And that's
that is
all
so
we do in
heinous.
this show. They're
So
really obsessed with it.
yeah, so I loved that being turned back around on the assailant, right? Like you think you're drugging me, you drugged yourself, you played yourself. Congratulations, you played yourself.
Yeah.
And so she drinks the drugged tea, and they're all kind of standing around, which I can't for the life of me understand why they were standing around for so long in this room, but whatever.
The most awkward group of people to have tea together.
Yeah.
Like can you imagine the 4 of them, Golden Girl style, just sitting there like?
Yeah.
I always have tea when we're bathing our babies. It's what we do. Go put the kettle on, love. Let's get them bathed.
Yeah, I guess this particular group was so odd to me, but they're standing around having tea in Theresa's bedroom of all places. And then Gwen starts to feel a little loopy. She's starting to feel a little sleepy. And Rebecca goes over to Theresa and she's like, you switched the cups, didn't you? And Teresa's like, I don't know what you mean. Right? Because what do you mean? What do you mean you switched the cups? What are you talking about? You wouldn't have been trying to drug me, would you?
That would be absurd.
Yeah. So, after this, Theresa notices that Gwen is like falling over. She tells Ethan like, you better put her to bed, because she starts snoring. She's like, put her to bed before she wakes up the baby with her snoring. So Ethan like carries her into the next bedroom, and then he comes back, I guess. Yeah, he comes back. Rebecca goes to look after Gwen at Theresa's behest. And then Ethan and Theresa have a conversation about her being a single mother, and he's like, oh, you're not a single mother. What about Julian? He'll be here to help you take care of the baby and raise the baby. And she's like, I don't want him coming anywhere near me or my baby.
But also a weird thing. I mean, how involved was Julian with you, bro? I mean, like,
well, he says, well, Julian raised me and I didn't turn out so bad, right? And she says to him, one of the things that they do in this show, which I actually hate, she says to him, well, Julian wasn't really your father, and you have Sam Bennett's genes, like you have Bennett blood. That's why
it's all about genes.
That's why you're so great. Yeah. You're so great because you have Bennett blood. What?
See where passions falls on the nature nurture debate. Yeah, she said he has to fight his genes, didn't he? My baby has to fight his poor little Ethan.
Yeah, she says he's gonna have to overcome his genes. Yeah, like, why do you already feel that way about your own kid? I don't like that. I don't like that one. I didn't like that one bit. But
it's
anyway,
come far away from the devil's spawn that she thought she was giving birth.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
getting better.
She literally, that is true. It's better than it was. She thought that he was the devil spawn and he was going to be a demon when he came out. Yeah. Well, then they have a little conversation where she says, I wish you were my baby's father. And he's like, yeah, but we know that's not possible because you were on birth control when we made love.
One pill. Just one pill.
Did I ever get a boo button? Did I?
Oh, I love that. I was thinking about this. We all know, well, we should know if we've had they even if it's taken perfectly, the pill is 99% effective. So even if she thought she was like, you'd still take the test. For the 1% chance, it might have been Ethan's. But anyway.
There is, still a chance, even if she had been on the pill for a year, which she hadn't been. She was on the pill for all of 3 hours. Yeah.
And you know what? And if I'm Julian, after everything that happened to me with Ethan, nothing, and with all the money and resources I have, nothing would have stopped me from having a DNA test on that child first thing.
Yeah. But he thought she was a virgin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but I agree. They should have just covered their bases on that.
Well, that's not where they want this storyline to go, so we didn't do that.
Yeah.
Nope. So Ethan says you were on birth control, so that's not possible. And then she asks him, will you be my baby's godfather? And Ethan says, I would be honored. So, I mean, something. I like what we're doing with them right now. It's fine.
That's weird to me.
That's all the notes I have on them. You have anything?
That's weird to me. I didn't like it. I know it's pretty and stuff, but it made me really I don't like it.
What can you elaborate why you don't?
I wish I could. I just don't like it. It's so weird to me. It's like you want him to be the dad. You're gonna make him the godfather. I understand her logic is that she wants him around good men.
I think she's using her baby to be manipulative, though. I don't know if that's why you've got the ick, Eric. Did she really feel dizzy? Oh, help me bath him. Oh, I don't feel safe to bath him on my own. There's something a bit not nice about that.
Yeah. It is being played straight, like Theresa's just being Theresa, but we're not getting any this is my chance to get Ethan. We don't have anyone for her to talk to
we're not getting her inner monologue about what her motivations are behind. But I think because we have been watching this show for so long and we all know exactly what Theresa's motivations are.
What she's capable of,
right? You know exactly what her motivations are. Her motivation is always Ethan, every single time. She said it to us at least 20 times. Everything I do for you, Ethan. so yeah, the use of the baby. Okay, I can see how that would give you the ick. Her asking him to be the godfather didn't bother me. I thought it was kind of sweet, and it's like I don't know if she's trying to
get it. Where
it's
it looks
one way to keep him, but I agree that maybe using the baby is a little gross.
I just think it's weird that it's like your former lover. I don't know. It's like your former lover, but you're definitely trying to get back. I mean, it's just complicated.
She was in love with, is deeply, madly obsessed with this man. So.
Do you think she's playing the hand she was dealt? I get it. My biggest problem was with Gwen. Not too long ago, Gwen was saying, I don't want to get him. I don't want to do anything underhand. Gwen was being really moral. We had to give Maria some props. But then going along with this plan, I wrote in my notes, this is pathetic and low. Get some self-esteem. Gwen disappointed me this week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and we see how powerful a mother's advice is in this show, especially in the lore of this show. It's like mothers have such a big sway on their children in this show. I'm saying they do.
Besides Rebecca?
Rebecca.
Kay doesn't listen to Grace. Theresa, Miguel, Luis, Antonio, none of them listen to Pilar. Ethan doesn't.
They go to Pilar for advice. Edna has Beth all fucked up.
Ethan is a bit obsessed with Ivy.
Yeah, Ivy does a lot of manipulation. Rebecca's pushing Gwen on these things. I do think that they put some weight on what mothers say and do in this show.
Okay, that's fair enough. They put some weight on it. I just don't think these children listen.
No,
Gwen knows better as well, and we know Gwen knows better.
But
it was late and she was desperate. Yeah,
I think if she's trying her best to stay on the straight and narrow is one thing, but then if you constantly have your one person telling you, no, this isn't going to work, you are going to.
It's going to make it more difficult.
Yeah.
It's definitely more difficult, but I mean, all I can say is my mother could not make me drug anybody. I love the lady, but I would have to be like, you are crazy, and I'm not going to jail with you today.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Chad and Whitney and what's going on with them. They're at they are at Whitney's house in her bedroom. They've had sex. They're, all lovey-dovey. They go downstairs to get like some food or some, because they worked up an appetite. And
he did not know how hungry making love would make you.
Exactly. And they have some conversation around Simone, and we get some movement on Whitney's part where she's like, next time I see Simone, I will tell her the truth. The next time I see her, I will tell her the truth. And then Chad is like, great, I'm going to go. I have to go do something real quick. I'll be back. Simone comes in from the hospital because she got some news at the hospital that she just needs to share with Whitney, which I was surprised that Theresa herself had not called Whitney by this point.
Yeah.
Right? She calls her for everything else. Why wouldn't you call me?
Again, they needed to keep the storylines separate. Yeah.
Because honestly, if I were Whitney, I'd be pissed that she didn't call me. I would be really upset. I'm glad you're alive, but why did I have to find out from somebody else? Why didn't you call me?
We would think she's in mourning, but she's not right now.
Yep. So Simone comes in because she's like, I got big news, Whitney, because she found out that Teresa's alive. And Simone's like, Whitney's like, well, I've got big news for you. I have something you're not going to believe when I tell you, and she does, to Whitney's credit, she does try to break the news to Simone. But Chad enters with some flowers, and the whole plan is blown to hell. He shows up with some flowers, and Simone, in all her deep Simone delusion, is like, Chad, oh my God, you bought me flowers. You didn't have to do that. And then she takes the flowers from him. She opens the card. Apparently, the card says that she's the love of his life, but it doesn't say Whitney. Right? He didn't write Whitney in the card.
Like a normal person.
Because of course he didn't write Whitney in the card. But it's like, with as many mix-ups as y'all have had with Simone at this point, I feel like you would definitely put Whitney in the card. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. So now Simone thinks he's even more in love with her than he was before. It's stupid. I'm over this. I hate this so fucking much. I do. I hate this. Anything to add? That's all I have to add.
Just how annoyed I am with Chad. When Simone started snuggling up to him, that was his time to step in and say, Simone, you've got this wrong. He let that go too far. Not that I'm absolving anyone else, but
I agree. He has let this go on too far. And I get that he wants to let Whitney be the one to break the news because she has been adamant that she wants to break the news. But at a certain point, it's his news to tell too. Right?
Yeah, she can't hold it for ransom.
Yeah.
But basically, she has been, which is driving me crazy. I will say this is just a joke. For me, I jokingly wrote down this is a contender for best for the name of the episode. When Whitney's trying to explain what horrible thing she did, Simone goes, "Did you ruin my Lenny Kravitz CD?"
Yeah.
See, that reminds me, because she said, we didn't mean for it to get this far. I think you're right, and Simone does know deep down. Yeah. It didn't make sense. It was weird.
None of it ever makes sense. No. Simone is in pure delusion.
Yeah.
The Nile is a river in Egypt. Your husband is gay. Like she is in deep denial. Which, by the way, have y'all seen that Wendy Williams is back and
I hope she's okay.
Doing much better.
That's real. I hope she's fine. I hope she's good.
I hope she gets another show because I used to love Wendy Williams.
Yeah,
I used to
she
watch
is
Wendy
very
Williams
missed in summarizing pop
but did I say
events.
is in a conservatorship that she's saying
she is still in the conservatorship.
Yep.
They said that she had aphasia, but she has been doing like interviews and she seems to be fine, like hours long interviews. It turns out that like it was her son was abusing her financially, and so she ended up in a conservatorship because of that. And so they're trying to get her out of it, I guess, at this point.
Wow.
And hopefully they will, and hopefully she'll be able to be back on TV or on the radio or something. Like, give that lady a YouTube channel. I will subscribe. I will watch Wendy Williams. I will.
Yeah, I miss her summarizing pop culture events.
Yeah, we need her these days. Okay. So anyway, that's all I have. Wendy says she tells Chad she's gonna tell someone the truth. Of course, she keeps saying that. I'll believe it when I see it, because if I remember correctly, they never tell her the truth. She just actually finds out. Right? Like, she just sees it for herself. Again, she's already seen it. Let me just put that out there too. Yes, Simone is extremely delusional because she has just decided that what she saw that night she got hit by that car does not exist, right? But she saw them kissing, and then she also caught them together at his studio. And and every time you want to see this man, he's with Whitney. What?
Does she have amnesia? It's rampant in this town.
It's selective. It's so incredibly selective. But
well,
yeah, I'm done with that. Y'all, anything to add here?
No, just similar to Lenny Kravitz and the storyline. I want to get away. I want to fly away.
I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on to our magic storyline. It's time to talk about what's going on at Harmony Hospital. Charity's dying. Charity's dying. Timmy has already passed. God bless him. Charity is dying still, and Miguel is like struggling, of course, to let her go. It's all very sad. Charity briefly wakes up and learns that she is dying. Right? Like, she wakes up. She's like, I'm dying, aren't I? And everybody's like, yeah, you are. And then she asked, she asked to talk to Kay. Meanwhile, Kay is out in the hallway trying to confess to Father Lonigan, but he refuses to give her absolution. So she asked for confession from Father Lonigan, even though they're not at a church. And then he lays all of the blame at her feet, even though he knew Charity was in the fucking cave, and he told Kay not to call the police. He told Kay not to tell her father about it. I want to make it clear. Father Lonigan knew that Charity was in that cave. Kay had already told him everything that she had done. She came clean. She was ready to end the whole thing. And he told her. Wait, what'd you say, Lisa?
Says she's a child, he's an adult. Yeah.
Not only is he an adult, he is also supposed to be a community leader, right? Like the moral compass for these people. And he told her when she said, yeah, Charity's like in a cave, all this stuff. I need to tell my dad. He says to her, no, don't tell your father. Your father's the last person you need to tell. What can he possibly do? You have to do this. Child, 16-year-old, 17-year-old, you have to deal with evil yourself. They could have at least, and I know I said this when it happened, but they could have at least gotten Charity out of the cave at that point. That could have been what they could have done in that moment, an actionable step that could have been taken at that moment. But Father Lonigan advised Kay against it. So I just can't let him lay all of the blame at her feet. Yes, 85% of it is her fault. Yes, 85%. He's that other 15%. He's the other 15%.
Yeah.
Did I do the math right? Yeah, okay. And so then he says, look at all the pain you've caused, and you and your evil, I can't believe you brought evil back to Harmony, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Charity, she goes to talk to Charity because they tell her Charity's asking for UK. So Charity tells her, I need to talk to you about Miguel.
That was really good.
Well, yeah, and she's dying too, so it's really, really rough, her voice. She asks her to take care of Miguel. She says, I need you to take care of Miguel. And Kay's like, of course I will. And then she goes back to Father Lon and she's like, Father Lon again, are you sure? You can't grant me absolution? Please, please.
Yeah.
I feel so bad. And it's interesting because Kay says she feels bad about what's going on. And I do think she does feel bad. She just doesn't feel all the way bad. And I understand that. I don't know. Maybe I'm a psycho too, but there's something about that I completely get, that she's like, yeah, I feel bad. Like, I didn't want Charity to die, but I don't feel like 100%.
Well, and here's the thing, she does want Charity to die, because anytime she's about to come back from it, her true feelings come about, which is like, God bless, she's gonna make it, and now I'm screwed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is difficult, because it's like we said, we struggle rooting for Kay, but right now she's just straight up wants Charity to die.
I can't.
She does feel bad.
Now.
She just feels. I was gonna say, she just feels in her head the only way to get to Miguel would be a life where Charity doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's through Charity. The only way I can get to Miguel is through Charity's chest.
Yeah.
And yeah, she does want her dead, but she won't really say that out loud. She's really saying like, no, I never wanted Charity to die, which is a lie. She definitely did. But I do believe she's conflicted about it. I do believe she has a conflict and feelings about it. I just think she's more like 70% on the side of like, yeah, I hope she dies, and 30% like, oh, I feel bad about this. Yeah. You know what it is? Maybe it's that I hope she dies and I do feel bad about that. Like,
it could be a combination of all those things.
Yeah, I think it's actually somewhat complicated when it comes to Kay. Because I think she also doesn't think of herself as a bad person, but this is not something a good person would have done.
I just think, why does she think Miguel will be with her anyway? Because all he'll think of is, oh my gosh, this is the girl I cheated on my precious Charity with her. Like, I think that would turn him off her.
Yeah, well, she's delusional. She thinks once Charity's out of the picture, then he'll be with her, which would have been, I agree with you. I think that would have been true. If she hadn't forced him to sleep with her. Hadn't tricked him into sleeping with her, I think Miguel eventually would have gotten to a place where he was like happy to be with Kay, right? But yeah, I think you make a great point there. So, yeah, she goes and asks for absolution, and Father says, I cannot absolve you of your sins, not this time. She asks why. It's your job. You're a priest, is what she says. And he says, basically, he tells her that he can't give her absolution unless she tells Miguel everything that she did before starting a relationship with him. He says, your choice is either to continue with your lies and perhaps be with Miguel or lose your soul. So yeah, he refuses, and she's like, I don't get it. Why can't I just be with Miguel? Like, I don't get it. If Charity dies and they have no chance of being together, why can't we be together? And he's just like, because you will have gained Miguel through evil deeds, and that's wrong, basically. So, anything to add there, Catholics? Or one Catholic?
Well,
are you Catholic, Lisa?
No,
our one resident Catholic.
Well, now I feel bad because I was going to take it into a direction that probably not the best Catholic route.
Go for it.
I was going to be like, I'm still curious about magic in the sense that what happens if Miguel just sticks it in real quickly? Like,
oh my God.
Well, because that's what Tabitha's been fearful of. If she, does she come back to life? Does evil just go away? I'm still curious as to what happens. I know he doesn't know that anything.
Angel Timmy could whisper it.
What'd you say, Lisa?
I just heard. I said Angel Timmy could whisper it in his ear.
Oh yeah, Angel Timmy could whisper it in his ear, but
it's a great type of the angels not giving helpful information.
Yeah, he's one of the angels down. He's not going to be useful in any way. he unfortunately, his usefulness stayed on Earth. He's gone up to heaven. So Kay watches while Miguel is sadly crying over Charity, and they're having a really sad conversation where Charity brings up the fact that they never got to make love, and she's like, even though we didn't ever get to make love, I know it would have been so wonderful because of the love that we share. And then Miguel like remembers making love to her and feels very guilty that it
Oh
turned out to be
man,
Jay.
I would feel horrible. I would like this is the worst.
Yeah,
This is the worst, to quote Wendy Williams.
yeah.
To bring her back into the conversation. This is the worst.
No, this is the worst.
This is the worst. This is the worst for Miguel. I really do feel bad for Miguel in these episodes.
Yeah,
Weird timing for Charity to bring that up, but okay, Charity, if that's what you want to get off your chest before you go.
Yeah, she's a weird girl. She's a weird girl who does weird things and says weird things. And so Miguel is struggling with her prognosis. Eve says again that she's not going to make it. And meanwhile, Tabitha is grieving her loss. Timmy just died. It just happened. And she's wandering around the hospital. She walks past where everybody is gathered around Charity.
All of Harmony.
Yeah, is gathered around Charity, praying for her. And she says, my arch enemy Charity is about to expire and I can't even enjoy it. And then she thinks to herself, he's like, oh, you think this is pain? Just you wait. You're all gonna pay. I'll see to that. I'm going to love every minute of it. You're all going to suffer unimaginable pain. And then Charity flatlines. Beep. She flatlines. She's dead. She dies. Eve calls it time of death. She says, I declare Charity Standish Bennett dead. And everybody's sad. I can't believe this is happening. You know, horrible. So 2 things happen. Eve like walks out to like the nurse's station and a nurse hands her something and she looks at it and she's like, oh my God, this could change everything. We just have to move fast enough. Okay. Tabitha walks outside and she's mourning Timmy. And she's like, I will have my revenge on all of those people who took my Timmy away from me. And I curse goodness and for tying my Timmy's life so tightly to Charity's. And then she works out, wait a minute, if Charity is dead, then I should get my powers back. And so she beseeches the dark side and she says, give me back my powers. And they do. They give her back her powers. And she says, Tabitha is back with a vengeance. What'd you say, Lisa?
And I thought it was only if she killed Charity herself. I don't know why, just because Charity's died, not by her hand, she gets the powers back.
As long as Charity dies, she gets her powers back. That's what it.
Yeah. At one point, she was even rooting for Hecuba to like win because she was like, if Hecuba kills her, then I might get my powers back. She was also nervous that the boys in the basement might screw her over because of Hecuba doing that. But yeah, she says, if Timmy died, then Charity must have died too. That means the boys in the basement will have to give me my powers back. Now that the brat is gone, I want my due. Forces of darkness, give me my powers back. And Tabitha yells an orgasmic.
It was awesome.
Yes, it was so good. I remember the build up to this, the commercials that they were playing at the time that was like, she's back. Like they were like, she hadn't had her powers for years. I mean, like...
years. It's been years. This is crazy. But yeah, Tabitha is back with a vengeance. And I loved it. And she runs off to wreak havoc, right? Mm-hmm. So meanwhile, inside the hospital, Eve runs past anybody who could give her consent to do this. And she just starts frantically trying to get Charity's heartbeat back. She's shocking this dead body, right? And everybody's shock and confusion and dismay. And she brings Charity back, her heart beep, beep, beep. She comes back. Meanwhile, and also, I don't know how legit this is. I'm not a medical professional, but I don't think that any of that was possible.
I would have liked to have some like magic on that side, like maybe a prayer worked or something, because it was weird to say dead and then go into like shocking her back to life. Like I just thought that was far. I mean, I could be wrong, but it seemed very, very far fetched. But this is
people have been dead for like a period of several minutes before and then being revived, but it's hard to tell the timeline in Passion's timeline. Maybe we don't know how long.
I imagine it was she had been dead for several minutes, So I guess I just
I have it in my head. I don't know if it's true where it comes from. I need to fact check myself. 7 minutes, I think, is the longest, but I don't know why. I
Yeah.
think that's correct
yeah.
information.
Well, she brings her back, and everybody's confused. Eve, why did you do that? Especially without consent from her family. Hello, why did you do that? And Eve's like, we have a possible donor. Not even we definitely have a
Yeah.
donor. We have a possible donor for Charity to get a heart transplant. And so everybody's overjoyed at this. They're like, oh my gosh, she's gonna get a heart transplant. Yeah, we hope so. Um, and Tabitha comes into this hospital where there's this chaotic scene. She's walking around, she's like, what the hell's going on? And she's shocked to learn that Charity is gonna get a heart transplant thanks to her. She said the nurse was like, yeah, we found a heart thanks to you. And Tabitha said, excuse me, what do you mean? And the nurse says, well, I gave you a bunch of intake forms and you signed a form for Timmy to be a organ donor. And Tabitha, rightfully so, says, I was out of my mind. I didn't know I was signing.
I was, yeah.
She says, no, you can't cut my Timmy open. And I do wonder, are you allowed to rescind that consent, especially considering she wasn't in her right state of mind?
No,
Is
yeah.
that even legal? That's a question for our legal hearing, right?
She's not his next. Her grandnephew Timmy's parents would be his next of kin, surely. And because he had the donor card, would that supersede her consent? But then they wouldn't have asked for it if she. I don't know.
Yeah, like where did that card come from? Because the nurse explains to Tabitha that she signed the forms saying that Timmy would be that he was gonna be a donor or whatever. If
He's a minor, maybe.
Yeah, and I agree. She's not his next of kin. Where are his parents? Right?
His imaginary parents.
That's her story. The story is that he's her grandnephew. He's her grandnephew. So yeah, he should have parents who should be. But Eve didn't even ask about that. Where
Eve's like, Eve the butcher's like, give me that heart.
Eve the butcher.
You want a sedative or something to quiet your nerves?
Mm-hmm. Tabitha's very upset by this, rightfully so. I do wonder, could she have just told them like, no, you're not gonna.
That's what I wish that's what would have happened. I would have liked to have seen that, but it destroys Tabitha's like goody two shoes reputation there. Like,
I don't think it does.
I think, I wish they would have gone that route.
Yeah, I don't think it's a crazy thing or an evil thing for somebody to say no. Listen, organ donors save lives. Donors save lives. But I also would not fault a person who just lost their loved one truly moments ago, and now you're cutting their chest open and taking out their fucking heart to put in somebody else. No. I don't fault you for a second for being like, no, you can't have his heart. Ugh. I don't know. It just upset me because they're just vultures and savaging Timmy for charity's sake. And I was with Tabitha, to be honest. I was. Maybe that's just because.
Questions though, like, would the computer not have already said if the heart was a match, if he was registered as an organ donor?
Yeah, what his blood type was. I don't know. Well, again, maybe they didn't know until just now because he just came into the hospital and she just signed those forms, tonight. So, yeah, I don't know. Whatever. He does come back as a match. And, Tabitha goes outside. She's frantic. She says, I will avenge your death, Timmy. I swear Charity will die by my hand. I won't allow them to use my Timmy's heart to save that pasty-faced do-gooder. She dropped some jokes in there, even in her, like, grief. She yells, forces of darkness, destroy the girl, Charity. Do it now! And she says they won't be able to start Timmy's heart if they have no electricity for their infernal machine. And so she creates a giant storm. She conjures a storm, a massive storm, and the electricity gets knocked out, the power gets knocked out, and Eve has to like keep Charity alive manually. Hank MacGyver is Hank is the MacGyver of the show. Apparently, he finds these portable defibrillators and you hooks them up to the machine to like power them like by battery. He like hot wires her life support machine.
Yeah, he tells Jessica to go find more defibrillators, and I'm like, who is Jessica's got power at the bed and breakfast? How does she have power here at the hospital? But she just runs around.
In harmony. Something
well, Eve told her they're in the supply closet, so she just goes to this hospital is like rampant with violations, just it should be shut down. It is quite literally the place where the citizens of Harmony go to die. It is.
If maintenance don't pick up the phone, TC and Sam have to step in.
Wait, say that again?
I said if maintenance don't pick up the phone at this hospital, that's why the civilians have to step in. Like TC and Sam are going to fix the electricity.
That's what I was saying too. It's like, where is all the staff at this hospital? What? Yeah, TC and Sam go down to the generator room to figure out why it's not working. It's like, why are they doing that? Aren't there people on staff? Aren't there maintenance crews on staff at this hospital whose job that is? So they go down.
They should have woke Ivy's ass up and had her help because she helped her in the last lightning storm.
And she would have been electrocuted again.
She might have given her back the use of her legs. If she got zapped again in the same place.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe.
See, look at us writing for this show.
Yeah, and I could do it in our sleeps, honestly. Okay, so TC and Sam go down to like try and get the generators back up working, and Tabitha also attacks those and like blows them up kinda. This is when Timmy appears in his angel form, and I loved it. I was so happy to see him. He appears and she turns around and sees him, and she happily embraces him. And what did you get what their conversation was?
Yes.
Go for it.
So Timmy said sorry to his princess, but he hadn't come back to stay. That Tabitha and Charity were the two great loves in his life. Tabitha said she loved Timmy through more lifetimes than she can count. She's always loved him. That's why losing him tonight hurts so much. She still doesn't know what she's going to do without him. Timmy says, you don't have to be without me. She can come to heaven. If she's good for the rest of time, he knows she can get into heaven. And he says they call it heaven for a reason.
Yeah.
She
says something about like what reignites her fury is she says something like, well, where were they when you were dying? And why didn't they pray for you? Which I agree. This town likes to be in everybody's business, but Timmy's over there dying. He was involved with Charity. There's no question about like how is he doing? He was there too. I mean, like it just for how good they all pretend to be. Not a single one of them went to go like tell Jessica she's the spare. Hey, go check on Tabitha, see how she's doing. Somebody. So I totally agree. I remember being infuriated at the time and watching these things piss me off again because Tabitha's totally alone in this. Like I get why she's super pissed off.
Me too.
And so she just blames them straight up. Not Zombie Charity, not Timmy for going and doing. She blames this like Harmony. Like she's like, this is why I hate this fucking place. Like this is why I've spent 300 years fucking everybody up. It's because of this.
Yeah. She definitely resents that they didn't have that same, energy for Timmy that they do for Charity. And like you said, not a single person came to check on her or Timmy. With
Father Lonigan's right there. I mean, I know that Timmy probably like didn't show up to church because like they couldn't at the time, but like your job should be like go over there.
Yeah, he didn't even give him his rights, so he came to do charities but didn't even do it for Timmy. So she actually gets upset because she hears that Charity is actually still alive, and she's like she should be dead by now. And Timmy wants her to stop, but she says to him, they took you away from me and now they think they're going to use you to save that blonde brat. Well, I'll be damned if I let that happen. And so Tabitha zaps Charity's respirator and it stops working. Even with Hank's handiwork, it doesn't work because she zapped it. And this is when Timmy begs her to let Charity live. But she says no. She says no blinking way. Charity is my enemy, and this time I'm taking no prisoners. Charity dies. But at that point, the generators come back up, and while Tabitha's talking to Timmy, and he's still trying to stop her from trying to kill Charity. So he says, "You're gonna have to go through me. If you want to kill Charity, you're gonna have to obliterate Timmy's soul. You have to." Oh my God! And she, of course, that makes her back down, right? Because he says Charity is a beautiful, kind girl. All she wants to do is grow old with Miguel. She deserves a chance to do that. And Tabitha says, "Well, what about me? Yeah. What about what I need?"
Tabby.
This is for all of us. What about me? What about me? That's
it's
Dreamgirls.
More than you. It is more than me.
We are family. No, I'm sorry. Okay, so that's a little Dreamgirls break for everybody. But she says, "What about me? What, don't I deserve something?" And she says, "I made you. I brought you to life. I gave you your big, generous heart, and I love you. So doesn't that mean I deserve something too? Without you, I'm all alone." And that's when Timmy tells her, "You're not alone. And whenever you want to talk, you just need to call me." He says,
I think that must have been the plan, to keep him around as the angel. I think the plan was for him to talk to her from heaven, which would have been nice.
Yeah, I think I said this last week. I believe that it was going to be, or I don't know. This is how I envisioned it. Tabitha makes a new Timmy doll, but it's actually evil. She's like, "This time I won't give it a heart." And so they are like her angel and demon. So good Timmy will come down to try to counsel her, but the other one's like on her shoulder, like, "No, we're gonna kill Charity." You know,
I do. Yeah,
like battles with each other.
Yeah, they I mean, I've seen it in other places, but definitely the Wikipedia said it was intended for him to be in this angel capacity for a little bit. This was going to give him time to recuperate from his surgery and then get back to action. So it would have been interesting to see that.
Yeah. So Tabitha gives up on trying to kill Charity. And then Timmy goes up to heaven, and we see Timmy in heaven with that angel girl. We see Timmy in heaven with the angel girl who
I couldn't hear.
What?
Did you guys hear? The sound was out on.
I texted Latara as well.
Yeah, I ended up watching it on Facebook. There's a page on Facebook that has the episodes if you can find it. Apparently it's not the easiest page to find. I can find it. So Timmy talks with the angel girl, and she tells him that he's a special angel who's going to have a special job, and not all angels get a special job, but he gets to get this special job as a guardian angel, and he gets his wings, and that's what that whole conversation was about.
Oh,
yeah. And so that's the end. He's a guardian angel, and he got his wings, and he's very happy about being in heaven. So anything to add on the magic front?
I have one question for that whole bit. Did we ever see Reese get bit by a crab?
What? No.
Catch that bit. So Miguel was like, "Charity, we had so many fun times. You remember when Reese got bit by a crab?" And I'm like, I don't remember anything. Did they just? There were no fun times. It was all misery. So did they have to make up fun time where Ross got bit by a crab? If he did, actually, Tabby probably did it. Stuck the crab on him.
How is that fun?
Yeah. Watching. Remember when that woman had an axe and tried to kill Tabitha, but Tabitha put Reese in front of her?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All just memories of Reese.
A laugh riot. Oh my gosh.
I have two things, and they're actually just Fantasia making me laugh on the watch party. So this is why you go to the watch party. One, Simone's coming after Kay, to which Fantasia said, "Where your man at, bitch? Go find him." Thought that was hysterical. The second one that was funny was when Father Lonigan denies Kay of absolution. he says Miguel and Charity could be married, to which Fantasia wrote, dang, at 12?
Yeah, because they're like so young.
Yeah. Oh man.
Does Avalonigan work for the dark side? Because when she went to him for absolution, he was like, I know what you're going to say to me, Kay. You used that vial, didn't you, that had the essence of charity that she didn't even think of using until he planted that seed.
Yeah. Like, yes, he works for the dark side. Nobody will ever be able to convince me otherwise. That man is a double agent. He is in on the dark side.
That would be a great twist.
Yes, because like you said, he definitely gave her the idea to use that vial. He wouldn't let her go and tell anybody that Charity was in the cave. There's been a plethora of other things that I can't think of at the moment, but I remember how it made me feel, and I felt bad about all of it. I was like, he's bad. He's bad news bears. He's a bad dude. He's a bad man. Which that actor just passed away. Rest in peace. Yes. So the actor, he just passed away. His name was Bruce French. French, who played Father Lonigan. So
yes, that's right. Sorry.
Obviously, it's never anything against the actor when I'm talking shit about the characters. Obviously, I love that he was there to give us so much to talk about.
Yes. Yeah. I forgot. Somebody put that in the in the Discord, and it's always sad to lose somebody. From the show.
A lot of the actors from Passions, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's an old show, and they were already, past middle. A lot of them were over middle age 20 something years ago. And so, he was 79 when he passed. So, it's not old, but it is, that's not an unusual time to pass away. So we thank you for your work, Bruce French. You did a good job. Gave us lots to talk about here, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're ready to move on to Sheridan and Louise.
Yay!
Which is, this is a mess. The whole thing.
It's a mess.
It's so messy.
Big brother, it's a mess.
It's so messy. And honestly, I don't know how y'all felt about it, but the only person I feel bad for in all of this was Beth. I didn't even feel bad for Sheridan.
Because she could have fixed it a lot.
Immediately.
Yeah.
No,
Beth was the only person I was like, I think I'm on Beth's side.
I could say if this is the week Fantasia started, no wonder she's like, this is so messed up.
Yeah, if this is the week Fantasia started, then I can see it. I get it.
It's her over the edge. Yeah.
Yeah. So we pick up, and Julian is plotting against Luis and Antonio. It's really not that important. He's just saying that he's bringing people up to speed on the fact that once Antonio and Luis see each other and work out that they're in love with the same woman, they're going to kill each other. They're not going to be his problem anymore. So Antonio is looking for Diana, doesn't know where she is, and Julian suggests to him that she may be at the cottage, and he's like, why the fuck would she be at the cottage? And he's like, oh, I don't know, people come here all the time and they seem drawn to the cottage. Maybe just go check it out, because he knows he knows that she's at the cottage, right? He's trying to send him there to find Sheridan and Louise together in bed. And so Sheridan and Louise, they share a night of passion. And
each other's brains out. Yeah,
they are doing it all over this cottage, And then she begins to remember her time away, because reminder, Sheridan got her Sheridan memories back and forgot all about Diana and Antonio, right? She forgot all about the last 8-9 months. And she starts to remember her time away, and she's like, yeah, I think I was with a couple. She's in her memories. She's seeing Brian and Liz and thinks that they are a couple. Just another slap in the face to Liz. And she's like, yeah, I was with a really nice couple. And then she starts to realize, wait a minute, were they a couple? Because she's getting more and more memories. And then she realizes, wait, I remember his name. His name was Brian. I was going to marry him. And so she's getting all these memories of Brian and their time together. And then Louise comes in and tells her, hey, so are you remembering your time away? Maybe maybe we can look it up on the police computer about her flight information. He's like, let me
Have a passport.
yeah, she
How
had her
did she travel internationally?
well, okay. So this is what we think happened.
Okay.
Yes, she should. We would think, yeah, if you're flying internationally, you would need a passport. However, we believe that Liz, well, not believe, we know that Liz was the one that flew them to the States.
So it's an internal.
Maybe there's a way to kind of get around. They smuggled her in, basically. She got smuggled in. However, their flight from wherever the fuck they were to Harmony is a domestic flight. So she has her boarding pass for that domestic flight. But what we were talking about was like, wouldn't that have her name on it? Wouldn't that have her? And it only said Diana, right? Like when he looked at the boarding pass, did it not? It should have at least said Diana, but apparently there was nothing on it because he goes to the police computer that he has at Sheridan's cottage for whatever reason, and he's like looking up the flight information. He's like, "Wow, Sheridan, you were on the same flight as my brother and his fiance Antonio and Diana."
Maybe she just has taken the name O'Leary. Look at me doing backflips. He used his official name, but maybe she said, "Oh, I'm going to marry him. I'm going to be Diana O'Leary."
Yeah, maybe, because then he looks on it again. But I will also just reiterate that this is post 9/11. You can't fly without an ID.
Need ID.
It's post 9/11. You cannot fly without an ID. That's just how things happened in this country after September 11th, 2001. They made it a lot harder to fly. And so, I don't know. It just doesn't wash for me. But whatever. It's not actually important. It's just one of those really messy, disgusting details that, right, that fashions just doesn't care. The writers just don't care about. But will keep me up at night. So anyway, he's like, yeah, you were on the same flight as my brother and his fiance Diana, but I don't see your name on the manifest, like whatever it is, manifest, whatever it is, the flight info. And they get like interrupted, and then they're like talking or whatever, and Luis gets an IM from Beth. And it's like, ding, his computer dings, and Sheridan is like, oh, you got an IM. You better get that, because Sheridan is being very sketchy because she remembers that she was with this other man that she fell in love with and was going to marry, and she does not know how to break it to Luis. She's worried about breaking that news to Luis. Understandably so, but, anyway, we'll get there. So he gets to his computer, looks at the IM and is like, oh, it's Beth, because this man had forgotten all about Beth, had forgotten that she even existed, let alone that he had proposed to her and they were going to get married. And so then he gets up and starts talking to Sheridan, is like, oh yeah, I have some things I need to figure out. I need to go talk to somebody. And she's like, what, you're leaving? She's like, yeah, I got some stuff to do. Ha ha ha. Just being very cagey, being very not with coming. That's not a word, Tara. There's no way that's a word. He was withholding information from her, obviously. And so he leaves to go and talk to Beth. Meanwhile, Beth is at home happily planning her wedding, going through bridal magazines while her mother antagonizes the shit out of her and tells her that she's never going to marry Luis. She won't let her marry Luis. And then she prays that Sheridan is still alive. Please bring Sheridan back to life, to keep my Beth from marrying Luis. And Beth tells her mother, there's nothing you can do about it. Sheridan is dead. Luis is mine. And that's the way it is. She says, that's just the way it is. And then Luis shows up. Tough room. Luis shows up and Beth is excited to see him. She's telling him how she's, I know you're not into this girly stuff, but all you have to do is sign off on it. I'm so excited for the wedding. It's going to be the most beautiful wedding anybody's ever seen. And he's like, Beth, we need to talk. I have to tell you something. but she keeps talking about the wedding. She says, I was really hoping we could have an October wedding because that's my favorite month. And he keeps saying, well, yeah, we can talk about that, but I really need to tell you something. She says, if it's not good news, I don't want to hear about it. Just tell me after the wedding, okay? Don't nobody bring me no bad news. Don't nobody bring me no bad news. She's Eveline.
Yeah, godly.
I love it. Don't nobody bring me. She does not want to hear it. She says, if it's not good news, tell me after the wedding. Oh,
it's good news for Louise.
Yeah. Yeah, it depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
And so he's like, maybe we should sit down. And he does some hemming and some hawing, goes around in circles for a little bit, but eventually he tells her Sheridan is back, Sheridan is alive. And she takes the news relatively well. He even compliments her on how well she's taking the news. He says, I really appreciate how well you've taken this, especially considering what this means for us. I mean, we were engaged.
Yeah. That's what I consider her, like, she stopped the buck, but prior to that point, like, she was just like, wow, Sheridan's alive. Okay. But she was, like, I don't know how she was not computing, he's going to break up with me.
I think she was, but I think, and I actually agree with Beth on this, I believe she was going to make him say it. You have to fucking say it. Yeah. You can't just, I assume that you have to break up with me. You have to say the words. And I agree. He has to say the words, and I'm supposed to just accept, Sheridan's back, so that just means X, Y, and Z? No, you have to tell me Sheridan's back. I'm in love with her, and now she and I are going to be together, and that means that our engagement is off. You have to say the words. Period. Yeah. You have to do the hard thing. And he says we were engaged. That took my breath away. It pissed me off. It pissed me off because she says, "What did you just say? I'm sorry. Did you say were?" And he's like, "Well, yeah. I mean, Sheridan's back." Oh, wait a minute. Where is my button?
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
Oh, he got a
double whammy.
He got a combo.
I hated that.
I should never settle for being someone's second choice. Not that this exact situation happened in life, but not blaming Beth at all. But she happily took that second spot in his heart, didn't she?
Yeah,
she did happily take that second spot in his heart. She did, and we talked about that. We've had that conversation about how, like, Beth was happy to take the crumbs. And we've also talked about how part of that is because she's never known love in her life, not even from her own mother, right? Yeah. And so Beth is a tragic character, especially at this moment. Beth is such a tragic character. And so he says, yeah, now Sheridan's back. And then she says, you know what, Louise, you've never been anything but honest with me. You told me from the beginning that Sheridan was the love of your life. It hurt, but I understood. But then I thought I could help you through your loss, and I did. You fell in love with me. You proposed to me. But now Sheridan's back, and Sheridan's the love of your life. How can I compete with that? And he's like, well, it's not a competition. Shut up. You just shut up.
I love how Edna says, if it was, you'd finish last, Missy.
Oh my God. Yeah, throughout all of this, I neglected to say, throughout all of this, Edna's like listening from her room and interjecting like the most scathing lines you can think of, especially coming from a mother, Beth's mother. Ugh, God, she is the opposite of Rebecca.
Top liver and Sheridan was caviar. That was my birth of the week. That was mean. And like I say, from her own mother.
I did like when Louise said, "That's a beautiful nightgown," to which she responded, "You like it? I just hope I don't soil it."
It's also a contender for burn of the week because I don't think it's a beautiful nightgown.
It's a beautiful nightgown.
But yeah, she's saying some horrible stuff. It's just I'm like reminding me. It's bad.
Yeah,
she's like a Chad figure, isn't she? Never known real love, so she's taking the crumbs, play stupid games. She won a stupid prize.
Unfortunately. And so after the whole, like, it's not a competition, that whole thing, Edna very happily comes out and interrupts the conversation, and Louise tells her, yeah, no, we're still having a conversation, that and we're not done yet, because Edna basically says, oh, Sheridan's back. Oh, wow, I guess that means you won't be marrying Beth then, will you? My God, this woman is evil. And so Louise says, we're not done having our conversation yet. Do you mind giving us some, privacy? And so she leaves again. And Louise then says to, he's like smiling at her, which pissed me off too. He's smiling. He's like, we can be friends. No, the fuck we cannot. No, we can't. But you know what?
They didn't see. I don't want to hear that right now. I thought, yeah, bit of backbone from Beth there.
Yeah.
That's exactly what she said. Don't spare me that we can just be friends speech. I can't handle it right now. And she tells him, really, I just want to be alone. And he leaves and she starts sobbing. It was so hard to watch. It was so sad. Edna comes in and just starts taunting her happily. It's just horrible. It was just
she's like, where's the camera when you need it?
Yeah, it was horrible. And so I want to stop here and talk about this really quickly and why I was so, I feel like it's obvious why I was so upset for Beth, but like, I do want to harp on it for a moment, because I have been saying for a while now that Luis was never ready to get married to Beth. That's not where they were in their relationship. It was clear that that's not where they were in their relationship, but he did it for all the wrong, he proposed to her for all the wrong reasons. And I hated that. And I feel like I gave him a lot of grace because he was grieving Sheridan's death. I gave him a lot of grace on that. But now that Sheridan is back, the fact that you come straight to Beth's house and don't really come out with, I have to break up with you. It almost seemed like he didn't even really have any real remorse, as much as he was just like, Sheridan's back, so you know what that means.
Well, he cheated on Beth.
Yeah, and he cheated on Beth. That's another caveat that I had not even considered. He actually did cheat on Beth too with Sheridan. And God, terrible, Luis. Bad man right now. You're not doing so good. He's not doing so good in my books. And he gets worse, actually. If you can believe it, Luis gets worse. But yeah, I just hated this whole scene of him coming in. He's so excited that Sheridan's back. Which, sure, okay, fine. And I'm sure there's no easy way to have this conversation. There's no right way to have this conversation necessarily, but I feel like there's definitely a wrong way to have it. And this was it. I just don't think he gave enough. I don't think he was sorry enough to Beth. I don't think he was, and I don't think he apologized for the right things, because what he should have been apologizing for was that he had used her to try to get over his grief with Sheridan. He should be apologizing for that, because if he was truly over Sheridan, or if he was truly ready to move on, it would have been a lot harder for him to come in that house and break up with her. It would have been a lot harder. The way that it's about to be a lot harder for Sheridan to break up with Antonio.
Yeah, he did go in there with like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make dinner tonight. I have to go to work. Like, that's basically the dismissal of what he was doing. It was nowhere near. The hesitation was there, but it was because of the repercussions of like, I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings versus just
like some people on the checklist, wasn't it? I got to do this and I can get back to Sheridan for more steamy sex.
No, exactly. He could not wait to get back to Sheridan. He was itching to get back to Sheridan. And I get it, but you have to have at least a little bit more respect for Beth. At least a little bit more. It just was so disrespectful to Beth, this woman who has been pining for you for years and years. You know it. And now you've broken her heart for a second time. For a second time, you've walked out on her. For a second time, you've walked out on basically engagement. And in 30 seconds, you just say, well, that's it. Sheridan's back. I got to go. Horrible.
It was automatic, like, I'm going to go be with Sheridan. It wasn't like, oh, this has happened. It's rocked all of our world. We need to take time, process, find our way forward. I can't move forward with the red and white. I mean, that might have been given a false hope, but it was just like obvious. You're chopped liver. I'm going to be with Sheridan. And that's like, Beth said you fell in love with me, but was it like what? You just love Sheridan more? Is there a pecking order of love? You're right, Latara. He should never have been engaged.
Ever.
To anyone.
He was not ready. It was so clear he was not ready. And I hate everybody who pushed him to do it.
Hank.
Yep.
Hank. And his mother, to be honest, Pilar was like, I'm happy. She should have talked a little bit more sense into him too. Like, are you sure about this? Really? Yeah. You think you're ready to be engaged? Sheridan just died. We're gonna get to it though, because I have more thoughts about Luis later on. So let's talk about what's going on with Brian and Sheridan at the cottage.
Yay, we can say Sheridan.
We can finally say Sheridan again. We can get rid of Diana.
Looking in my notes, though, I kind of flipped between both names for Antonio.
Yeah, especially right now, like because Brian / Antonio's still calling Sheridan Diana, and Sheridan's still calling Antonio Brian, right? So until they stop calling each other those names, it's hard. Yeah, I'm typing it in my notes. Okay, anyway, Brian goes to the cottage. He finds Sheridan. They set it up and made it seem like he was going to walk in on Sheridan and Luis, but Luis apparently was like long gone by the time he came in. He'd gone out the back door, which I've never seen him go out the back door. I didn't even know there was a back door.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody use the back door in this cottage, and now Luis used it like 3 times in these episodes, conveniently. So anyway, he comes in. She explains to him that this cottage is hers. She remembers who she is, right? And he's like, oh, what do you mean? Do you work for the Cranes? Shut up. Do you work for the Cranes? How do you know the Cranes? And she's like, no, I'm one of the Cranes. I'm Sheridan Crane. And she says, can you still love me now that I'm the way that I'm one of them?
Knowing I'm a Crane.
Sorry. I was like, what does this sentence even say?
Just so you know, mine says, can you still love me knowing I am like half like asleep writing.
I was like, this sentence is incoherent. Okay, so she tells him I'm a Crane, and she's like, and I know how much you hate the Crane. I know how much you hate those Cranes. Can you even still love me now that you know that I'm one of them? And he says, of course, Diane. And I feel like she was trying to get out of it.
Oh, yeah. Do you hate me enough to not want to be with me? Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, well,
you don't want to be with me, right?
Yeah, I'm a Crane now, so don't you want to break up with me? Like, you don't want to marry me now, right? Now that you know I'm a Crane? Just trying her best to get out of it. And he's like, no, nothing's ever going to come between us ever again. And he says, by the way, how'd you get your memory back? She says, something triggered it. And she's like, oh, well, there was something triggered it, right? And he's like, what was it? Was it something in here? Was it? She's like, not something, someone's face triggered it. And he's like, who was it? And he says, wait a minute, I know who it was. It was my mom, right? Oh my God, shut up. Oh,
brother, this guy stinks.
It was my mother. You saw my mother. And she says, why would I have seen your mother? What are you talking about? And he says, well, she works here. And she's like, she works here? I don't know anyone on staff by the name of O'Leary. And he says, oh, O'Leary's just the name I took when I left town. My mom's name is Fitzgerald, Lopez Fitzgerald, and it hits Sheridan. She's hit with the realization that Pilar is Brian's brother, and oh my God, you're Luis's brother. You're Luis's brother.
It was Passions for Dummies because she had to explain all of it. She's like, Pilar is your mother? So you are Antonio, the eldest son, which makes you Luis's brother. Yeah, it was so. I was like, yes, Sheridan, we don't need to be holding her hand the whole process. But yes.
Yeah. And then Brian goes, yeah, do you know him? And she, of course, neglects to tell him the whole truth.
Biblically.
Yeah, I know him biblically. I knew him about 20 minutes ago.
I knew him 3 times
Yeah.
tonight.
So Brian says, you and I, we're destined to be together, and this isn't just a coincidence. We were destined for one another. And then he brings up the Titanic. He's like, remember, we were married in a past life. We have 4 kids. Shut up. And then Brian's like, yeah, and I want my brother Luis to be the best man at our wedding. Huh? Y'all don't even like each other. What are you talking about? I want Luis to be the best man at my wedding. Sheridan refuses to say anything. She's letting this man talk and make a fool of himself.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to go find my brother right now so that we can talk about it. I want to tell him that I'm back and that you remember your past and da-da-da. She stops him. She's like, no. I don't remember what excuse she gives him, but he goes to the back room for whatever reason, and she runs out to find Luis. And she tries to call him, but he's left his phone behind in the bedroom.
He went. He was gonna go get wine. He was like, "Let's celebrate. Do you have wine here?" Yeah.
And so
Sheridan, you've got some great wine. I thought, how does he know? And then I remembered he had a bougie phase of life, didn't he?
Yeah, he was living high on the hog while his mama was worried to death that he was dead somewhere in a ditch. And so she runs out to find Luis. But then Luis comes back to the cottage after breaking Beth's heart, devastating Beth. I mean, that was such a horrible, horrible situation. And he comes back with such a spring in his step. It pissed me off. He has flowers. He stopped to get flowers on the way back. And he hasn't even told Sheridan that he was engaged to Beth, right? And so he walks in, comes face to face with Antonio, and just punches the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm neutral on that punch. I typically, when Antonio gets punched, I like it, but I'm neutral on it this time. I'm not gonna say I like it, but I'm not gonna say I don't like it. What?
I said I was annoyed because he's a police officer and he punches people all the time. He annoys me.
He's the law. He is the law. And he can do what he wants. It's called excessive force. He uses it for sure. So yeah, he punches Antonio. They start fighting. Oh, you left our family behind, and I left you a note saying that the house burned down, but you didn't even respond to the note. Whatever. Fighting. It was all so stupid. And so Sheridan, who's outside waiting for Luis, at one point she sees his car. At least we think she sees the car, but she waits for Luis to come in because she's trying to stop him. But then she hears the fighting inside. She's like, "Oh my God, Luis must have gone in the back way again." I guess again. The backside. And so she runs in and she breaks up their fight, and she yells something like, "I can't believe the man I'm in love with, the love of my life is would fight like this, would act like this."
It's so dumb. Neither
one of them really get a clue that could possibly be talking about the other one, but they both are like, "I'm sorry." They're both a little too for neither of these brothers to know that she knows both of them, right? Antonio knows that she knows Luis, but he doesn't have any inkling that they were anything beyond just acquaintances, right?
Yeah, it's on Luis to be like, how y'all did y'all meet?
They were both very familiar with Sheridan, and I do think that both of them should have had a little more what's going on here. But nobody did. Sheridan's getting away with it. She's getting away with this weird ruse because she is too scared to tell these guys that they're both her fiance.
Yeah.
And I get it. On the one hand, I get it, but on the other hand, it's I wouldn't be able to keep that to myself. That's something I wouldn't, because you can't keep it up. It's one thing to lie and know that this is a lie that I can keep up, because as long as this person stays over here and that person stays over there, then I'm good. But these two people are in the same room with each other and going to be in the same room with each other a lot.
Yeah.
This is a lie that you will not be able to keep this lie up.
You can't
So you might
maintain
as well
it,
just say the thing. You might as well just say
You
it.
want to tell me separately to try and make it
Yeah.
calmer, both together.
Yeah, to try and keep things down, I guess. But yeah, I would have been so sick. I wouldn't even be able to like, yeah. So Sheridan stops them from fighting. And the brothers argue. Oh yeah, they start arguing about the note, and then Antonio's like, yeah, I never got that note. I don't know what note you're talking about. And Luis is like, how could you miss it? I slid it under your hotel room door. It's like, it's a note that you slid under a door. Yeah, how could he miss it? Easily. It looked like trash. So the maid threw it away. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it got it slid behind the trash can and then the maid threw it away. But yeah, it looked like trash, so it got thrown away.
Yeah.
And Sheridan corroborates that she remembers that Antonio didn't see the note, right? She remembers like, oh yeah, Antonio was upset because Luis left without leaving a note. And so she's like, no, Luis, he's right. He never saw your note. Luis is like, how do you know? And she says, well, it's obvious that he's telling the truth. I mean, come on, y'all.
Just say, I was there with him. This is who is, yeah.
Yeah, there's your moment. There's your moment right there. How do you know? Well, at the time, I was in his bed. Well, but she does not take the moment. And Luis just accepts it as the truth because she says, well, he's obviously telling the truth. Then Antonio and Luis have some conversation around Theresa where Antonio's like, yeah, maybe if I had been here, I could have steered her down the right path. Shut up. No, you couldn't have. Nobody could have. And then they're like, well, we're going to be friends for the sake of the family. And they shake hands. And then they skip right to, you know what? I should be in your wedding and you should be in mine. I want you to be the best man at my wedding and I want you to be the best man at my wedding. And then Luis is like, actually, what if we have a double wedding? After the last one, Luis? After your last disastrous double wedding, why would you even suggest that bullshit again?
I hope Ivy gets her car started up again.
Hello, yes, drive through this thing. Well, and also remember at the last double wedding, Sheridan almost died. Like she passed out and almost died. I mean, yeah, so
it is just crazy to stop this feud so fast. Like it's
nuts.
Yeah.
It's
like now in a bromance. The carnage is all around them, but they're BFFs now.
Yeah, now we're best friends forever. Yeah. And they just say we're gonna be each other's best men, and Luis is like, we're gonna have a double wedding. Sheridan's about to have a panic attack watching all this happen. And then Antonio goes to do something, can't remember what, but he looks at
his nose is bleeding. She told him
to that's what it is. He needs to get ice for his face that Luis is like bashed in. And he grabs Sheridan's hand and kisses her on the cheek. It's like, I'll be right back. Mwah, gives her a quick kiss. And he walks off and Luis is like,
the fuck?
Familiar with you? What? Did that upset you? Because that upset me. I'm gonna make sure he knows that he can't just touch you any kind of way. Whatever.
Is that any way to threaten your best man?
That's right. So yeah, he's confused by why Antonio would be so familiar with Sheridan. And then she tells him, Luis, let's just take a walk. Please take a walk with me. And he's like, no, I want to go talk to him. She's like, no. We're going to take a walk. Let's go out and have a walk. They go outside. They sit down. They have a conversation. And Sheridan explains that she has remembered what happened to her and where she was. And she explains to him that there was a man who scooped her out of the sea. He saved her life. They fell in love. And Luis flies off the handle. He gets so upset. It's like, you forgot all about me? You didn't remember me at all? No, I had fucking amnesia. How many times I have to, no, I did not remember. But then she's like, well, I did know that there was somebody that I did love, but I got this overwhelming feeling that he was dead. And he's like, Why would you think I was dead? And she's like, I don't know. And my thing is, he gets upset with her because she had amnesia, forgot about him, thought that he was dead, right? And fell in love with another man and they're engaged or whatever. Meanwhile, not 6 months after Sheridan's death, he's knocking down Beth's sugar walls, blowing out her fucking back, and has proposed to her. You don't get to be angry, sir.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
You don't get to be mad. He doesn't get to be mad. He was using Beth up to like deal with his grief over Sheridan, which I think I could give a pass to, not using her, but like that he was, with Beth. Making love with her. Wait, what'd you say, Lisa?
Did they make love, Luis and
Yes, numerous times. Yep, they've been doing it. They've been doing it quite a lot.
Okay.
And I think the first time they started to was when
Bermuda.
When they were in Bermuda. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they go through with it or not. I think they did.
I thought something happened. They didn't go through with it, and then I didn't know if they'd ever taken that step. But they are engaged.
Yes, they definitely have. They have definitely had sex. Now that I know. It was so unmemorable.
Yeah.
It just wasn't memorable. They've done it. They've done the deed at least a couple of times. So yeah, he's like been fucking Beth, and.
But also, do you want Sheridan to give Grace a call and let you know how it works? Because you just don't remember anything.
Another person in this town that doesn't understand how amnesia works.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was upset with this. I was so mad at him for being so mad at Sheridan. He was so mad at her. And it's like, I can't believe you forgot about me. It's like, yeah, well, I blew up in a fucking explosion to the point that you thought I was dead. That's how bad that explosion was. You couldn't find, anyway.
She was so apologetic, which also annoyed me. She's got nothing to apologize to him for.
I agree. She is very apologetic. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. It was the amnesia. And then she tells him that it was Antonio is the man that she fell in love with. Meanwhile, Pilar finds Antonio at the cottage, and he tells her that his fiance got her memory back, and she's like, oh, that's so good, that's so wonderful. And he's like, yeah, and it's somebody you know. And she's like, somebody I know. And he's like, yeah, my fiance, you're not gonna believe this, is Sheridan Crane. Pilar, she puts on her poker face. She was on poker face, poker face. She puts it on. And she's like, that's so sweet, sweetie. That's so great. You know where your brother is?
And could you stay away from him?
Yeah. And so she goes out to find Louise, and she's like, I need to find Sheridan because I haven't seen her in so long. Like, I need to see her, whatever. So she goes out to find her. She comes up and finds Sheridan, gives her a hug, tells her, I'm so glad you're still alive. And this is all so wonderful. And then Louise says, Mama, did you know about this? Like, Antonio is with Sheridan, and she's like, can't we all just be happy for a moment? He's like, no. He's like, no, because I'm sure that Antonio took advantage of Sheridan and forced himself on her. Which he's not entirely wrong.
Yeah.
Sheridan doesn't see it that way, but And when they say forced himself, of course he means it in more of a trigger warning rape type of way, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. I do think he forced himself on her in a personality. He just would not leave that woman alone.
Yeah.
Right? He just pushed himself on her constantly. So I don't think Luis is completely wrong about that. And he did take advantage of the fact that Sheridan had amnesia. Yeah. Right? He wanted her because she didn't remember anything about who she was before. And yeah.
So. I was going to say, Tabitha's had the worst night. Oh, go ahead.
I just said you could tell he really didn't want her to remember either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What were you going to say about Tabitha, Eric?
I was going to say Tabitha's had the worst night, but in terms of running rapid, Pilar has had a horrible night. I mean, Teresa's back back to life, but she had to deal with that. Then she has to go all the way to the hospital to deal with the fact that her son's love of her life is dying. Then she comes back and sees that her other son's back, but like...
Is Pilar having a bad night, or is Pilar having the greatest night she's had in years?
I'm just saying it was a rapid night.
It was
all over Harmony.
Definitely a crazy night, but
Far back yet. Or she doing that on the bus.
she's got 4 out of her 5 back in Harmony now. Like, Pilar's up. For once, Pilar is up. For once, she's up. Yeah, no, she's just happy to have her. Yeah, but she is. Yes, I mean, yeah.
It's just funny to think about that one
great.
Evening. Yeah, in one evening, what she's had to go.
Yeah.
She's just like walking around the crane man.
Yeah,
What?
Pilar's going through it. She can't process. She's still trying to process the fact that Theresa's even still alive, right?
To which. To just say a line earlier that Rebecca said that we didn't mention was, she goes, "Doesn't anybody stay dead in this town?"
Nope. Nobody stays dead in this town. Yeah, so Pilar's having a complicated night. Let's say
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
what
say
do you do with all this information?
Because most of it's good news, right?
Yeah. It's just, how do you
Theresa's
handle all of
back.
that?
Yes, Miguel's having a hard time, but at least he's not the one dying this time, right? Like, he's not the one in the hospital bed this time.
Yeah.
Antonio's back after years and years and years, you know. Sure, he and Luis are about to be at each other's throats, but for right now, you know, she got some. Be careful what you wish for, right? She got her kid. She got her kid back, and now here we go.
So those
Sheridan is
work.
also like a daughter to her, so bonus kid back.
Yeah, Sheridan's
that's
back.
true.
Sheridan's back from the dead. So Luis says that nonsense. Not nonsense. No, taking that back. Luis says that Antonio took advantage of Sheridan, forced himself on her. And Sheridan says, no, Brian never forced himself on me. He was never anything but good and kind to me. And then she looks at Pilar and says, you raised a wonderful son, a true gentleman. And then Pilar and Sheridan, they're like having this moment with each other, and Luis has like snuck away from them, and they hear a crash, and so they go to check it out, and they find Antonio just like passed out on the ground, and Luis is like looming over him, and so it looks like Luis has done something to him, but obviously it's his mysterious illness has caught up with him, obviously. So that's where I ended. That's the end of my notes. Y'all got anything to add?
I just have a little bit. I know there's some Sunset Beach fans that listen to this podcast. So this is my first time on since Kathleen Noon has joined the show. So the Sunset Beachers will remember her as Aunt Bet from Sunset Beach. She was a very like dynamic, more youthful character. So it's really interesting to see her in this role where she's aged up. But Beth's house is actually an old set from Sunset Beach that they reused. It was the Surf Central, the fun beach house from Sunset Beach. And if you look on the stairs, you will see the S's in the stairs for Surf Central. So
I noticed the S's because they kept panning over. Wow.
Oh,
That's
nice.
I was like, what a weird design choice. I could not figure out like that's a weird staircase to have. That's so
Yeah, we know.
I'm gonna have to look for it the next time because I didn't catch it. I'm gonna have to look for that. Cool, thank you for sharing.
We'll never be able to stop seeing it now for the rest of it. Yeah.
Seriously.
Well,
So yeah, they reused sets, budget soap operas. I think they reused a few. Apparently, when I was trying to fact check myself because I wanted to mention this because I know there's a few Sunset Beaches. Apparently, the wharf was also what they used as this. The Harmony Wharf is also the Sunset Beach here. So.
Oh, I mean that would make sense. That would make sense. Yeah.
That's cool.
Wow. Cool. All right, y'all. That's it for the show. Anything done? We're done with this for today, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, where can the people find you?
I'm at Mr. Eric Vetta on everything.
All right, and Lisa, where can the people find you online?
I am Make Everyday Looks on YouTube and Instagram.
All right, and as usual, you can just find me on the Patreon, the Discord. Join the Patreon if you want to talk to me, because like I have said multiple weeks at this point, I am not on my social media pages the way I should be. So if you want to have any kind of discussions about passions, that's the best way to find me or and some of the other people on the show, because, you know, we do have a lot of fun discussions. lot of people know more about the show than I do. Eric, this people, everybody. I feel like everybody kind of has their own little niche because everybody has their favorite storyline. So like Eric is like our Tabitha and Timmy like expert, and Maria is like the Gwen expert. And actually, that whole storyline, she really knows that storyline so well. And Fantasia is our Beth expert, right?
And some people have been doing a rewatch, like have gone further into the rewatch, so a lot of it's more fresh for them.
Yeah.
So that's really cool too, to hear from people that are seeing it cleaner and closer.
So that's it for today. Next week we will be seeing Maria, I believe. So tune back in. And with that, you are my passion for life.